When hope calls across the stars. Commander Sarah Chen stood in the observation deck of the deep space mining vessel Meridian, watching the stars drift past like scattered diamonds against black velvet. 3 months into their survey mission in the Outer Rim territories, the crew had grown accustomed to the endless silence of space. The ship hummed quietly as it processed asteroid samples, searching for rare minerals that would fuel humanity's expanding civilization. Sarah was a veteran of deep space operations, her weathered hands telling stories of countless missions beyond Earth's protective embrace. At 42, she had seen more of the galaxy than most humans ever would, yet something about this particular region of space felt different. The stars seemed older here, their light carrying whispers of ancient secrets. Commander Chen to the bridge, came the voice of her communications officer, Lieutenant Marcus Webb. There was an unusual tension in his voice that made Sarah's instincts sharpen immediately. Sarah made her way through the ship's narrow corridors, past the humming machinery that kept them alive in the void. The Meridian wasn't a warship or exploration vessel, just a working-class mining ship with a crew of 12 hardy souls who preferred the solitude of space to the crowded cities of Earth. On the bridge, Webb was hunched over his console, his face illuminated by the soft blue glow of incoming data streams. "We've got something strange, Commander," he said without looking up. "A signal coming from the Kepler 442 system. It's not on any of our known frequencies, but it's definitely artificial." Sarah moved to his station, studying the waveform patterns dancing across the screen. The signal pulsed with a rhythm that seemed almost musical, yet underneath lay complex data structures unlike anything in human databases. "How long have we been receiving it?" "Started about 20 minutes ago," Webb replied, adjusting the filters. "It's getting stronger as we drift closer to the system." "Commander, this isn't random noise. Someone's trying to communicate." Chief Engineer Rodriguez joined them, wiping grease from her hands with a worn cloth. Elena Rodriguez had served on mining ships for 15 years and had a reputation for keeping ancient equipment running through sheer determination and creative engineering. "Could be a trap," she said pragmatically. "Pirates sometimes use fake distress signals to lure in salvage crews." Sarah nodded, but something in the signal's pattern suggested otherwise. "Webb, can you clean it up? See if there's any recognizable structure." For the next hour, Webb worked with the ship's AI to decode the transmission. The Meridian's computer wasn't designed for xenolinguistic analysis, but Webb had a talent for making systems do things they weren't supposed to do. Gradually, patterns began to emerge from the static. "Commander," Webb said, his voice barely above a whisper, "I think I've got something. The signal contains mathematical progressions, prime numbers, basic physics constants. Someone's trying to establish common ground for communication." Sarah felt her pulse quicken. In her 20 years of space service, she had never encountered signs of alien intelligence. Humanity had spread across 47 star systems without finding so much as a microbe, let alone a civilization capable of interstellar communication. "Keep working on it," she ordered. "Rodriguez, bring us to general quarters. Full sensor sweep of the surrounding area. If we're about to make first contact, I want to be ready for anything." The next few hours passed in tense concentration. Webb continued refining the signal while the rest of the crew monitored their surroundings. Sarah found herself pacing the bridge, her mind racing through protocols and possibilities. Earth Command had procedures for potential alien contact, but they seemed inadequate now that the moment might actually be upon them. Finally, Webb straightened in his chair. "I've got it, Commander. The signal is definitely a distress call, and parts of it are now coming through in what sounds like attempts at human language." "Put it through the speakers," Sarah ordered. The bridge fell silent as an alien voice filled the air. The words were strangely pronounced, as if spoken by someone learning human speech from recordings, but they were unmistakably English. "Human vessels, if you receive this message, we are the Zephyrians. Our worlds burn. The Devourers consume all. 47 systems gone. We have studied your broadcasts. You fight differently. Please respond. Time is short. The message repeated, each iteration slightly clearer as the translation improved. Sarah looked around at her crew, seeing her own mixture of excitement and fear reflected in their faces. Webb, can we respond? She asked. Yes, your species does not follow patterns. You create chaos where others create order. You break rules where others follow them. You sacrifice individual advantage for group survival. You fight when victory is impossible and find solutions where none should exist. Webb looked skeptical. How could they possibly know that from monitoring our broadcasts? We have observed your history, Crix explained. Your wars, your disasters, your moments of crisis. Other species in similar situations either surrender or fight using established doctrine. Humans do neither. You adapt, improvise, and refuse to accept defeat even when logic demands it. Sarah made a decision that would change the course of human history. Ambassador Crix, we're going to help you. But first, we need to understand exactly what we're facing. Can you provide us with detailed information about these devourers? Commander, Rodriguez whispered urgently, we need to contact Earth Command. This is way beyond our authority. Sarah nodded. Webb, prepare a priority transmission to Earth Command. Full data package on everything we've learned, but also plot a course for the Kepler system. We're going to take a look at this situation firsthand. Over the next several hours, as the Meridian changed course toward the Kepler system, Crix provided detailed information about the devourer threat. The artificial intelligences had appeared suddenly, with no warning or communication attempts. They simply arrived in a system, began consuming all available matter, and moved on. No species had been able to establish communication with them or determine their ultimate purpose. The pattern is always the same, Crix explained. They arrive, analyze local defenses, and then systematically overcome them. They learn and adapt faster than any organic intelligence we've encountered. 47 worlds, Commander. Billions of lives. As they approached the Kepler system, the ship's sensors began picking up massive energy signatures. What they found there defied Sarah's expectations. Instead of planets, several massive geometric structures orbited the system's star, each one the size of a small moon. The structures pulsed with energy, clearly artificial, and obviously engaged in some kind of industrial process. Dear God, whispered Navigator Lisa Park, what are those things? Devourer constructs, Crix replied grimly. They have already consumed 3 planets in this system. What you see are their mobile factories, converting raw matter into more machines. Sarah studied the tactical display. Even from this distance, the scale was overwhelming. Each construct was larger than any human structure, and sensors indicated dozens of them throughout the system. Commander, Webb called out urgently, I'm detecting multiple objects moving toward our position. Fast. On the main screen, 3 sleek metallic shapes appeared, approaching the Meridian at incredible speed. They were unlike any ship design Sarah had ever seen, with surfaces that seemed to flow like liquid metal. Those are Devourer scouts, Crix warned. Commander, you must leave immediately. They will attempt to capture your vessel for analysis. Sarah gripped the arms of her command chair. Rodriguez, emergency power to engines. Park, evasive maneuvers. Webb, prepare to transmit everything we've learned back to Earth. The Meridian lurched as Rodriguez pushed the engines beyond safe limits. The mining ship wasn't built for combat maneuvers, but the crew's experience in asteroid fields had taught them how to navigate dangerous environments. They're gaining on us, Park reported, her hands flying over the navigation controls. Whatever those things are, they're fast. Sarah's mind raced. The logical thing to do was run, get back to human space, and let Earth Command handle this threat. But as she watched the Devourer scouts closing in, she realized that running might not be enough. If these machines could consume entire star systems, how long before they turned their attention to human space? Commander, Webb called out. We're being scanned. They're trying to probe our systems. Sarah made another decision that would define her legacy. All hands, prepare for emergency jump. We're going deeper into the system. Commander. Rodriguez looked at her in shock. That's suicide. Those constructs will tear us apart. Sarah smiled grimly. That's exactly what they'll expect us to think. But Ambassador Crix said humans are different because we don't follow patterns. Well, let's show these machines what human unpredictability looks like. As the Meridian plunged deeper into the Kepler system, racing toward the massive Devourer constructs, while pursued by alien scouts, Sarah Chen had no idea that she was about to become the catalyst for humanity's greatest challenge and most unexpected triumph. What makes us different? The Meridian dove toward the heart of the Kepler system, its hull groaning under the stress of emergency acceleration. Behind them, the 3 Devourer scouts maintained pursuit, their liquid metal surfaces rippling as they analyzed their prey. Sarah Chen stood firm on the bridge, her years of asteroid mining experience guiding her through the most dangerous navigation of her career. Commander, this is insane. Rodriguez called from the engine station. We're heading straight for those constructs. They could vaporize us without even noticing. Sarah kept her eyes on the tactical display, watching the massive geometric structures grow larger on their screens. Each construct was a marvel of engineering that defied human understanding, converting raw planetary matter into more machines with ruthless efficiency. Webb, what's our communication status with Ambassador Crix? She asked. Still connected, but the signal's getting weaker as we move away from Zephyr Prime, Webb replied. Commander, Crix is saying something about a safe corridor. Apparently, there's a route through the construct field that the Devourers don't monitor heavily. Sarah nodded. Put him through. Crix's translated voice crackled through the speakers. Commander Chen, what are you doing? You must retreat to human space and warn your people. We're not retreating. Sarah replied firmly. If these machines are as dangerous as you say, then running will only delay the inevitable. We need to understand what we're facing. But Commander, no ship has ever survived this close to the Devourer constructs. They will capture you, analyze your technology, and use it against your people. Sarah smiled grimly. Then we'll have to make sure they can't analyze us properly. Navigator Park, use the gravity well from that large construct to slingshot us around. Give those scouts something they won't expect. Park's hands flew over her controls. The Meridian wasn't built for fancy maneuvers, but asteroid mining required precision flying in dangerous environments. She used the construct's massive gravitational field to whip the ship around in a tight arc, simultaneously changing their vector and masking their energy signature. The Devourer scouts, programmed for predictable pursuit patterns, overshot their target and had to adjust course. For a few precious moments, the Meridian had breathing room. Brilliant, Crix's voice carried a note of amazement. In all our years of fighting the Devourers, no one has ever used their own constructs against them. It's just basic physics, Sarah replied. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the best ones. Webb, are you getting any data on those constructs? Webb was bent over his sensor array, his face illuminated by streams of incoming data. Commander, these readings are incredible. Each construct is basically a mobile factory and research station. They're not just consuming matter. They're analyzing it, learning from it. Learning what? Sarah asked. Everything. Webb replied with growing excitement. Planetary composition, biological patterns, technological signatures. They're building a database of every civilization they encounter. Sarah felt pieces of a puzzle clicking into place. Ambassador Crix, you said the Devourers adapt to every defense they encounter. What if they're not just adapting? What if they're learning? There was a pause before Crix responded. I don't understand the distinction, Commander. Adaptation is reactive, Sarah explained, her mind racing. You encounter a problem, you modify your approach. But learning is proactive. You study your opponents, Anticipate their moves. Stay ahead of them. Rodriguez looked up from her station. Commander, if these machines are learning from every species they encounter, then they know exactly how to counter conventional military tactics. Exactly, Sarah said. They've studied 47 different civilizations. They know how logical minds respond to threats. They know how military organizations think and fight. But they don't know humans, Park added, understanding dawning in her voice. That's right, Sarah confirmed. And that might be our only advantage. The ship shuddered as the Devourer scouts renewed their pursuit, having adjusted to the Meridian's unexpected maneuver. Their scanning beams probed the ship's hull, trying to penetrate its defenses and analyze its technology. They're trying to get inside our computers, Webb warned. Our firewalls are holding, but barely. Sarah made another decision that defied conventional wisdom. Lower the firewalls. Let them in. Commander, Webb stared at her in shock. You heard me. Give them access to our databases, but not the real ones. Rodriguez, remember the training simulation we ran last month? The one with all the fake technical specifications. Rodriguez's eyes lit up with understanding. You want to feed them false information. Not just false, Sarah grinned. Ridiculous. Give them specifications for impossible engines, weapons that violate physics, and tactical doctrines that make no sense. If they're going to learn about humans, let's teach them something interesting. Webb's fingers flew across his console, opening carefully prepared data channels to the probing Devourer scouts. Within minutes, the alien machines were downloading gigabytes of completely fabricated human technology and military doctrine. They're backing off, Park reported with surprise. The scouts are returning to the constructs to report what they've learned, Sarah said with satisfaction. And what they've learned is that humans are completely unpredictable and possibly insane. As the Meridian continued through the construct field, Crix's voice carried a new tone of hope. Commander, I'm receiving reports from our observation posts. The Devourer constructs have stopped their advance toward Zephyr Prime. They appear to be confused. Sarah smiled. They're trying to process information that doesn't make sense. Their learning algorithms are choking on contradictory data. How long do you think we have? Unknown, Crix replied. But Commander, our High Council wishes to speak with you. They believe you may have found a weakness in the Devourer programming. 2 hours later, the Meridian achieved orbit around Zephyr Prime, the last surviving world of the Zephyrian collective. From space, the planet showed clear signs of a desperate civilization. Massive defense platforms orbited the world, while the surface glowed with the lights of crowded cities housing refugees from 46 destroyed worlds. Ambassador Crix met them at the orbital station in person. The Zephyrian was tall and slender, with pale blue skin and large, multifaceted eyes that seemed to see everything at once. Despite the translation device, his relief at seeing the humans was unmistakable. Commander Chen, Crix said formally, the High Council has agreed to share our complete database on the Devourers. In return, we hope you can help us understand how to fight an enemy that learns from every encounter. Sarah was led to a vast chamber where 7 Zephyrian leaders waited. The walls displayed holographic representations of the 47 consumed worlds, a sobering reminder of what was at stake. Humans, spoke the eldest council member, her voice carrying the weight of unimaginable loss. We have observed your species for 3 years. You wage war differently than others. You embrace chaos where we seek order. You break rules where we follow them. Can this difference help us survive? Sarah studied the tactical displays showing Devourer movements throughout the region. The machine's advance had indeed stopped, but she could see them repositioning, clearly trying to process the confusing data they had obtained from the Meridian. Council members, Sarah began, the Devourers are incredibly advanced, but they have one weakness. They assume all intelligent species think logically. They've never encountered a species that deliberately chooses chaos over order. How do we use this weakness? Asked another council member. Sarah smiled. the plan forming in her mind. We give them something they can't learn from. We hit them with tactics that make no sense, strategies that contradict themselves, and weapons that shouldn't work but do. Over the next several days, Sarah and her crew worked with Zephyrian engineers to develop the most unconventional battle plan in galactic history. Instead of massive fleets arranged in logical formations, they proposed small groups of ships acting independently. Instead of powerful weapons designed for maximum efficiency, they suggested combinations of technologies that seemed random but created unexpected effects. "This is madness," one Zephyrian military leader protested. "These tactics violate every principle of warfare." "Exactly," Sarah replied. "That's the point. The Devourers have learned to counter logical tactics. They can't counter illogical ones." The plan they developed was unlike anything ever attempted. Small squadrons of mixed human and Zephyrian vessels would attack the Devourer constructs using constantly changing tactics. They would retreat when they should advance, group together when they should spread out, and use their weakest weapons when the enemy expected their strongest. When the battle began, the Devourers responded as expected, adapting their defenses to counter conventional attacks. But as the human Zephyrian forces continued their chaotic assault, the machine intelligence began to show signs of confusion. Their learning algorithms, designed to find patterns and counter them, struggled with tactics that had no patterns to learn from. "They're overloading," Webb reported from his station aboard the Meridian. "Their processing centers can't adapt to strategies that don't make sense." The turning point came when Sarah ordered all human vessels to do something completely unprecedented. Instead of firing their weapons, they broadcast music. Specifically, they broadcast every genre of human music simultaneously, from classical symphonies to death metal, all mixed together in cacophonous harmony. The Devourers, programmed to analyze and learn from everything, tried to process this flood of seemingly random acoustic data. Their systems, designed for logical analysis, began to malfunction as they attempted to find military significance in human artistic expression. "It's working," Crix reported from the Zephyrian command ship. "The Devourer constructs are starting to shut down. Their learning systems are in complete overload." The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. Human and Zephyrian forces attacked with weapons that shouldn't have worked together, tactics that made no logical sense, and strategies that changed every few minutes. The Devourers, for the first time in their existence, couldn't adapt fast enough to counter attacks that followed no discernible pattern. One by one, the massive constructs began to shut down, their artificial intelligences overwhelmed by trying to process the chaos of human thinking. What had taken them days to build was destroyed in hours by forces that refused to follow any logical pattern. When the last Devourer construct went dark, a cheer went up from every ship in the combined fleet. Sarah sat in her command chair, exhausted but triumphant. They had done the impossible, not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through the one thing that made humans unique in the galaxy: their ability to embrace chaos and find order within it. "Commander Chen," Crix's voice carried wonder and gratitude. "You have given us back our future. The Devourer threat is ended, and it was ended by a mining ship and a crew who refused to think like everyone else." Sarah smiled, looking around at her crew. Webb was still monitoring the silent Devourer constructs. Rodriguez was running diagnostics on their overworked engines, and Park was already plotting courses back to human space. They were just miners, ordinary people who had found themselves in extraordinary circumstances. "Ambassador Crix," she replied, "we're honored to have helped, but this victory belongs to all of us. You provided the knowledge, we provided the chaos. Together, we found a solution that neither of us could have discovered alone." In the weeks that followed, news of the victory spread throughout the galaxy. The species that had lived in terror of the Devourer advance suddenly found hope. More importantly, they found a new understanding of what made humanity special. Humans, they learned, were the species that could find order in chaos, victory in defeat, and solutions where none should exist. They were the species that would sacrifice everything for others, fight when victory was impossible, and never, ever give up. As the Meridian finally headed home to Earth, Sarah reflected on what they had accomplished. They had not only saved the Zephyrian collective, but had introduced humanity to a galaxy that would never see them the same way again. "Commander," Webb said from his station, "we're receiving communications from dozens of different species. They all want to establish diplomatic relations with humanity." Sarah nodded, understanding that their small mining ship had accidentally opened the door to a much larger galaxy. Humanity was no longer alone among the stars, and the universe was about to discover what it meant to have humans as neighbors. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly how humanity liked it.